Welcome to Swiftly Spoken, a fan-made Taylor Swift podcast in which we break down her lyrics, deep dive into full album retrospectives, and theorise about what may be coming next. As always, we are your hosts Cameron and Lisa, and with Speak Now Taylor's version coming this week, we're exploring the stories behind the last few songs written for the album. In the last few weeks, we've recapped about 2/3 of the Speak Now album, but this is the last episode before Taylor's version of Speak Now drops, so we're going to be exploring the album's creation, inspirations, and obviously legacy. I will also give you a heads up, I have slightly lost my voice, so if I sound a bit weird and shaky and my voice goes up and down a bit, that is why. But yeah, we're excited to kind of explore the last couple of songs.
Starting off with where we left off last time, we got up to Back to December, which Back to December is a very interesting song. As Taylor describes herself, she's never felt the need to apologise in a song before. But in the last 2 years, she said back in 2010, I've experienced a lot, including a lot of different kinds of learning lessons. And sometimes you learn a lesson too late. And at that point, you need to apologise because you were careless. So as we know, because of the secret message of this song, which clearly spells out Tay, and also some of the references to, again, physical descriptions in the song and descriptions of very, very specific timelines. This song is most probably about Taylor Lautner, who has been instrumental in some of the Speak Now Taylor's version movement now.
Promo, yes.
Yeah.
He has, ironically, and he has just mentioned Back to December himself multiple times. Like, it's known pretty well, isn't it, that is about him, and he's kind of accepted that. And it seems like we might be seeing him featured in Speak Now Taylor's version music video as well, potentially.
Right.
And yeah, he has done some kind of promo for Speak Now Taylor's version himself. So yeah, he is now kind of very much in the Speak Now world. He already was, but he's kind of re-sewn himself back into the Taylor's version.
Definitely. He's in the Taylor Swift cinematic and musical universe at this point. Yeah, it's nice to see how a song, again, we've spoken a lot about in this series of Speak Now, stories and looking back at the stories that created this album, a lot of changes within those stories. So this song started off at a point where Taylor felt the need to say sorry to someone it's such a heartbreaking song as well. Like, also how she speaks, going to December, which is the time of cold. And I think she portrays it perfectly in the music video more than anything, where, she's sitting in that bathtub and it's snowing and you can see kind of the relationship freezing over, the guy left out in the cold, and how heartbreaking that all is. Love this song because of that. And we recently got a snippet of it. We got it in the trailer for The Summer I Turned Pretty. How did you feel about it?
Sounds really good. Like, it does. Taylor's vocals sound incredible. Like, I'm really, really excited. Obviously, the version that the kind of backing track is not like what we will hear. It's kind of a bit Carolina,
right, cinematically enhanced,
where the crawdads, exactly, yes. So obviously it doesn't sound identical to hopefully what we'll receive, but vocals wise, really, really impressive. I thought she sounds really good, really emotional, which is something that I really like, is because one thing about lots of the Taylor songs is that because they were written and recorded at the time, they do have so much emotion, and obviously that is a potential fear that Taylor might not be able to kind of tap into that emotion, but it sounds like she has, and I'm really, really excited. Back to December was one of my favourites on Speak Now and favourites across her discography, so I really, really hope that, the Taylor's version kind of knocks it out of the park.
Definitely. I mean, what we've heard from it, I definitely think that it's looking really good, and it goes to show, like, how well she can still, like you said, tap into these emotions all of these years later, when obviously she doesn't feel the same way, but she can still kind of go back to that moment, which must be also very difficult to do. But yeah, honestly, sounded really, really good, and it made me even more excited for this Friday.
So the next track is Dear John, and interestingly, the secret message for Dear John is loved you from the very first day, which is a reference to Superman, which is obviously on the deluxe version of Speak Now. So again, it kind of ties Dear John, Superman together, which is an interesting choice, like the fact that Taylor did that, and that she kind of tied them and made it very clear who each ones are about. And also, I guess, Dear John recently has kind of had a bit of a resurgence with the recent performance and what Taylor's kind of said, and obviously we will get into that in a second, but at the time what Taylor said about Dear John was that she said that the song Dear John is sort of like the last email you'd ever send to someone who you used to be in a relationship with. Usually people write a venting last email to someone and don't usually send it, but by putting this song on the album, I hit send. Which is interesting because often around the person that, these songs are rumoured to be about, she mentions emails a lot and getting nasty emails and not very nice emails. So it's interesting that she kind of saw this one as a bit of an email. And also this is a little bit of a Sabrina Carpenter reference, ironically, because her recent
Right.
her recent album, Emails I Can't Send, is emails that she wrote to send to people, turned into songs and then released. So it's quite interesting that Taylor kind of did the same thing really with Dear John.
Yeah, definitely. And you can tell, like, Dear John has everything you would want to say to someone at the end of
everything
horrible...
and more. Like, it has everything and more that you'd want to say.
Definitely. Like, at the end of a horrible, terrible relationship that has gone wrong in every which way possible, she just pours her heart out. I mean, there's a reason that this song is track 5, and there's a reason it's so beloved by so many people. It hits on so many notes of just being in a terrible, terrible place, and someone really just not really caring that you're in that terrible place anymore. The bridge is absolutely incredible. The whole song, it just works so, so well, how we get the gut-wrenching lyrics and then it moves into that amazing, uplifting bridge and to the end of it, where she, gives us the, you should have known I was going to write you a song. And yeah, you should have known. Going into what Taylor recently has said about this song, we have to stress that what she said is very, very important. Do not interact with this man who this song is rumoured to be about, because he loves it. He loves it. He loves to be the victim of it all. Obviously, in general, it's not a good thing to go and send hate or say really horrible things to the people that Taylor has interacted with in the past that she no longer interacts with. But in general, especially not this man, 1, because it's not a nice thing to do, but 2, because he really feeds off of that.
Don't add fuel to his fire. Yeah,
exactly.
Like, as Taylor said, she doesn't need to be defended over something that happened a million years ago and has moved on from, and just don't interact with someone that is still clearly not over it. Like,
exactly.
Yeah. So
they'll use that to their advantage rather than it coming off as us being, defending Taylor or whatever, which, as she said, like you said, she doesn't need to be defended. Stream the song, listen to the song, enjoy the song, and relate it to, ourselves, our own stories. And as we said in the last couple of episodes, although we are discussing how these songs came about, and it is very, very interesting to kind of like make connections to the things that Taylor has told us about the songs and how they're inspired by her life. As she always says, in the end, the songs that she puts out then become something more. They become part of our lives and our story with her and our story with our own personal experiences, which makes them, even better. It makes them so beautiful in their own right. So yeah, just as she said, listen to her. Don't interact. So moving from such a heartbreaking song to a completely different song, a very, very romantic kind of song, and one of the only few of these types of songs on Speak Now, which is Mine, which is rumoured to be written and recorded in late February of 2010. Now, Taylor says that really she's like gone back and forth with this song. No one really knows like the exact inspiration, but she does mention that there was a situation where she was hanging out with a guy that she barely knew, and he put his arm around her by the water, and she saw like an entire relationship flash before her eyes, like she says, like a weird science fiction movie. And then she goes on to say, after I wrote the song, things sort of fell apart as things so often do. And I hadn't talked to him in a couple of months. And the song came out, and that day I got an email. Oh no, not another email. Anyway, I got an email from him.
She was loving emails in 2010.
Yeah, between this one, Dear John, and Enchanted, they've all got emails.
Bless her, that email inbox must have been pinging off from all these boys.
She got an email from him, and she said she was like, yes, because that was sort of half confession and half prediction or projection of what I saw. So yeah, we're talking about the song Mine, and the secret message of this song is Toby, which is rumoured to be about the guy that stars in the Mine MV, right? But
which I find bizarre.
Yeah, because I was about to say, but how could she have written Mine about this guy? Yeah. Because the guy is in the Mine MV, so Mine obviously predates the Mine MV. So we don't really know. This is an interesting one because Speak Now is very, very
Yeah.
clear in its inspirations and in its stories. That's why we wanted to, present these Speak Now stories and go over like the creation of each song, because Taylor has kind of laid the cards on the table for each and every one of these songs. But this one is more of a mystery, which makes it very, very interesting.
What's interesting is we've mentioned this before, that mine kind of is weirdly reflected again in like Gold Rush.
Yes.
Off of Evermore, of like having quite a fleeting moment with someone that for some reason you feel like you've seen that entire relationship. And I think it's a really interesting thing. I think like even with kind of friendships and stuff, when you meet someone, you're like, oh, I feel like this could go here or there. So I think it's a really interesting emotion to explore. And I think that's what's so exciting about Speak Now, is that it does just explore really interesting emotions and emotions. Sorry, my voice is so bad. I do apologize. But emotions that are like quite nuanced, because it's just such a random thing to just be sat with someone and see the entire relationship flash before your eyes, and then make like a 4 minute song about it, detailing like getting married and moving in and having a fight, and all that you've really done is just sat by them and they've put their arm around you and you never spoke again. I love that she can pinpoint such a specific, very raw emotion and flesh it out and turn it into this quite like just intricate emotion that is when actually it's quite a singular moment.
Yeah,
like,
and that happens with many songs.
So interesting.
Many songs on Speak Now, like you were saying. So Last Kiss, we have, it's obviously it's about a whole relationship, but it kind of pinpoints this one moment in time and then kind of fleshes it out from there. And the breakup goes through all of these stages. And mine, the same thing, just from that one pinpointed moment, then the whole thing is fleshed out very differently. Instead of the ending of a relationship, we go through like the whole flourishing of a relationship instead. So no, it's very interesting how she did that. She really, really took very, very personal and specific emotions and then decided to go over them and mull over them and then write them in, like you said, I think the best word for it is intricate ways, really deeply exploring them. And yes, Sparks Fly is another one. It's from like one singular moment, and it's this whole, which is very similar to mine, I guess. We have mine, Enchanted, Sparks Fly. They all kind of have a similar emotion to them. Enchanted, one tiny like meeting, and it's this whole love story.
5-minute song,
yeah, pining,
like, please don't be in love, and like, no, it's just interesting that it's. This is why I love Speak Now so much, because the stories and the songs just are just so like poetic and just so like whimsical, and so heart-wrenching, and I just love them. I really do think that for me, Speak Now was the first album where Taylor really like put on the songwriter like boots and was like, I'm a songwriter,
and all on her own as well.
Like exactly. Like debut Fearless, she's the like she was a songwriter then as well, but I feel like Speak Now was really the one where the complexities of emotions were really explored and were just so much more. The lyrics were just so much more like in depth and very visual. And I don't know, there's something about these songs that I just love them so much because they are just so good. That's the only way to describe it. Speak Now is just such a good album.
I think
I'm so glad that with the Taylor's version, it's going to get recognition.
Exactly. I was going to say, I was about to say, I think it goes underappreciated by a lot of people, and I'm glad that it's getting some appreciation once again now. Maybe some people who joined the fandom at a later date are kind of rediscovering it or discovering it for the first time and are seeing that, she really did she didn't come to play. She really did say, listen, I'm going to write a whole album. It's going to be by myself. She had a lot to prove, which is sad because I don't like thinking of it as like she kind of felt threatened and had a lot to prove. But at the same time, she got to demonstrate and show just how well she could write about all of these diverse emotions from all of these different point of views, and falling in love, falling out of love, the main themes in a lot of Taylor's songs. But also this next song that we're about to get into is nothing of the sort, Long Live, as well. But no, it definitely explores a lot of different emotions, and from a very personal and vulnerable state. And I think that's why Speak Now connects to so many people, because it is something so raw that a lot of fans have lived through, and that's why you can connect so well with it.
And I think also your thing of sometimes it gets overshadowed was because I think it sat between two big old titans of an album. You had Fearless, Grammy winning, Love Story, You Belong With Me, and then Red, which obviously kind of went on to just be such a classic in the Taylor Swift kind of discography and have titan of hits. So I think that unfortunately Speak Now kind of gets lost in between. It's the little, kind of singer-songwritery album, with all these like love songs on it. It kind of gets lost in between like two like pop juggernauts of albums. So I'm really glad that the Taylor's version is getting so much recognition already before it's even been released, and hopefully it will just be as successful when it is released. So the next song is Speak Now, and obviously, interestingly, as we've mentioned, and mentioned in the Lover Diaries as well, is obviously the title change for the album. That originally the album was going to be called Enchanted. However, Taylor's label suggested that maybe Speak Now wasn't, an album of like love stories and, whimsical fairy tales, and that this album was more mature, and Taylor kind of went slightly back to the drawing board and then wrote Speak Now and realised that was the title. And as we've said a million times, I know some people might find this controversial because lots of people do quite like the name Enchanted. I think Speak Now is such a better album. It's so much more conceptual. Agreed. It ties all the songs together, whereas for me, Enchanted does not include all of those songs, whereas Speak Now is, like Midnight's How Taylor said it was almost like a creative writing because it was all about midnights of her life.
Right.
Speak Now's a bit like that. It's all the times that she should have said this.
Yeah, I love the concept that she made around this song and then made it the title of the album.
And then the era itself of basically in the era she proceeded to say what she wanted, basically.
Yeah, really.
And, and made it very clear of what she, wanted to say and didn't want to say.
To be honest,
I think that, perfect.
I know why a lot of people also kind of like reject the idea of the changing of the title, and that was Taylor. But I do think she sat down and she appreciated the feedback and then went on to change it. And I do like how it does really split the eras. Like Fearless was very enchanted, was very...
and whimsical and fairy tales
and Speak Now, though it does have a lot of those themes... elements, Long Live, and obviously now we're getting Castles Crumbling, so it does have like enchanted themes, but I do think she turned them a lot on their heads. And Speak Now, it just works perfectly. Like you said, she really did say like, I'm going to speak about all of these topics that I haven't spoken about. These are the things that, well, she never said, and that is why I really, really love this secret message to Speak Now, the song, which is you always regret what you don't say, which is so good. It just ties it all together perfectly.
Yes, I love this. I love that this is the secret message. You always regret what you don't say, because Speak Now basically takes inspiration from one of Taylor's friends' real life kind of dilemmas about interrupting a childhood sweetheart's wedding. And it is rumoured, and I don't think it's even rumoured, I think it's basically slightly confirmed, but rumoured in brackets that it is about Josh Farrow, who got married in April of 2010. And this song is from Hayley Williams' perspective.
That is the rumour.
If I'm correct.
Yeah, that is the rumour.
Yes.
I know a lot of people would love to run with this rumour. Other people aren't so sure. The timelines do line up. It's very, very interesting.
Yes.
And seeing Hayley Williams...
There is photos of Taylor.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's photos of Taylor at the wedding with Hayley Williams.
Oh, it's crazy.
And Hayley Williams is now featured on the album, which is like...
Oh, if it is about what we think it's about, then it's just so perfect to have her on that album in the end. And she was also quite more involved in the era than we kind of even realised. They obviously became quite good friends throughout that time. So, it's heart-wrenching if it is all true and that is how it all worked out. But at the same time, these things happen.
Some people are not the biggest fans of Speak Now, the song, but I've always loved it. I think it is it's
such
visual.
A great concept.
When I listen to Speak Now, you can visualize that. Like, that song for me should have a music video.
Should,
why the hell? It's the most visual song you've ever heard. And like, every time I listen to it, I could make the music video for her if she really wants, because it's so obvious. Like, it's just so visual in my head. It's like sickly. It's so visual. Like, I can see it like plain sight. So I hope that with Taylor's version we might potentially get one, because I would
just
love
a little clip, anything
to have that.
Anything, please. Although like we said, we have mentioned this previously, we have had this conversation before, if anyone's getting deja vu, but I think we did say that I Bet You Think About Me is kind of this concept.
Yes,
it is kind of the concept.
Yes.
So would she do that again when she's already done it and pretty hilariously and very funny, which honestly, she could have saved the concept. She could have done something different for I Bet You Think
I
About Me. Because
know.
if you were to say to anyone who wasn't like a proper fan, but just knew of Taylor's music, and you said, right, I'm going to describe an MV to you. It's literally a music video in which Taylor interrupts a wedding. She's disrupting the whole thing. She's like a terrible wedding guest. She's there in her own wedding
Bride
dress.
doesn't want to be there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What song do you think it's for? No one would say, oh, you know what?
Yeah. And the wedding dress is shaped like a horrid pastry. Like, you know, it's like this big flowy bouncy wedding dress.
Right.
Yeah. Oh. And then she goes up to the guy at the end. It's just like, yeah, it is slightly frustrating because it does maybe, like you said, hinder us getting a Speak Now music video. But anyways, love it. But what is interesting is what Taylor said at the time during the track by track. So basically, she said, one of my friends, the guy she had been in love with since childhood, was marrying this other girl. And my first inclination was to say, well, are you going to speak now? And then I started thinking about what I would do if I was still in love with someone who is marrying someone who they shouldn't be marrying. And so I wrote this song about exactly what my game plan would be. And I just love it. Like
is such
so fun.
Terrible, crazy person. Like, she loves this idea. I hate how this is a theme in Taylor's life, where she was like, this would be my game plan. She wouldn't just sit back and let people get on with things. She's like, no. I'm about to destroy a wedding scene.
Do this. You don't belong with that. You're like, to be honest, it is kind of, there seems to be there's a kind of similar trope across a couple of the songs with like Teardrops on My Guitar, You Belong With Me, and Speak Now all being like, why are you with her? Like, I'm way better. What are you doing? I'm now gonna initially it's like, we're at school, why are you with her? Then it's like, I'm on the band and like she's a chili. Now it's like, I'm at your wedding and I'm hiding in the curtain, and now I've stormed out in front of your entire family and extended family and we're running away. You know, it's just like, I love it. The drama, the storytelling, the fact the song develops, and it's just like masterful songwriting.
Definitely,
love it.
We get a conclusion. We get to realise that they run off together into the sunset.
What is interesting though is the live performance. I do feel like is basically kind of like the music, like it is basically like a music video, and we kind of get that in the live performance from the Speak Now World Tour. So I'm not too mad, because the Speak Now World Tour does such an incredible job of visualizing it on stage. So I'm not too mad, because it kind of does it, and like you said back, I Bet You Think About Me also kind of does it at the same time. Okay, we just thought we'd quickly mention, basically every time we've ever got to record an episode about Speak Now, for some weird reason, we always have problems with
everything.
All of our recording devices, the sound quality, stuff crashing, not working, headphones not working, and this has happened again. So we do apologise. We've now had to kind of do it a different way because everything's crashing and nothing's working. So we do apologise for the drop in audio quality again, but we really just want to get this episode out. We really want to finish it. We didn't want to kind of have to delay it again, because obviously we've already delayed it a little bit. So yeah, we do apologise again. But it seems that Speak Now as an album is cursed for Swiftly Spoken. Whenever we have recorded any episode about Speak Now, something has gone wrong in some shape, size, form. It's crashed. We've lost.
Every single time.
Sometimes we've lost. One time I believe we lost an entire episode.
Yeah,
we had to go back and
record the episode
totally redo. So yeah, hopefully we do apologise, but we just wanted to get you the content. So if you've noticed another drop in the audio, this is why, but we will get back into analysing Speak Now. But yeah, we just thought we'd kind of give a bit of a heads up.
Next up, we have Long Live, moving on from our Speak Now cast. Long Live was probably written around the end of the Fearless tour, and the secret message of Long Live is for you, referencing really that she was playing it or writing it for her band, really, from like what the story is being told. But I think, again, as another song from Speak Now, it has turned into something so much bigger than just that. It is for us, the fans. It's for us as a fandom together and with Taylor, and it's just such a lovely, lovely song.
Oh, me too. I've always loved this song, and yeah, like you said, it's become such a kind of fan song. I really, really wish it was part of the Eras tour. I really wish that it was part of the Speak Now segment, even if it was just a tiny snippet. I know that we did get it technically. Well, we did. We got it as kind of a mashup on the Reputation Stadium tour. So we can't really complain, but I just think that it's just so Eras tour coded. Like, it couldn't be more celebrating her live performances and all her eras and the fans and the connection. So I really wish it was included, but I love Long Live. Long Live is such a good song and such a good album closer as well.
Oh, it's such a brilliant album closer. It's really emotional. It hits all the right notes. And here's what Taylor had to say about it. She said, "Long live, in parentheses, we will be remembered," which we'll mention in just a second. And she says, "is the first song where I've ever had parentheses in the title. Besides that, though, this song is about my band and my producer and all the people who have helped us to build this brick by brick. The fans, the people who I feel that we are all in this together. This song talks about the triumphant moments that we've had in the last 2 years. We've had times where we just jump up and down and dance like we don't care how we're dancing and just scream at the top of our lungs, how is this happening? And I feel very lucky to even have had one of those moments. Nonetheless, all the ones that I've got to have. Long Live is about how I feel reflecting on it. This song for me is like looking at a photo album of all the award shows and all the stadium shows and all the hands in the air in the crowd. It's sort of the first love song that I've written to my team." It's just such a lovely message.
Oh, it's lovely. It's really lovely.
So I guess we get into, in parentheses, we will be remembered.
Yes, which is interesting.
So obviously this never came to be. Taylor mentions this in parentheses, we will be remembered, as if that was the whole title of Long Live. However, as we all know on Speak Now, on like the track list, obviously the track list for Taylor's version, there is no parentheses, we will be remembered. So along the way, the title kind of shifted and changed. But at some point back in the day when Taylor was first speaking about the album, it was supposed to have this parentheses after Long Live.
Yes, because this kind of quote came from her website, but then in the track by track, it's not mentioned. So it's interesting that that was included. I'm glad that it doesn't have the "We Will Be Remembered." I'd much prefer "Long Live." I think it's snappier, works better, and maybe they decided the same, that actually just makes sense just to call it "Long Live."
Right, yeah. Somewhere along the line, we, tried to scour through the internet a little bit, but not sure exactly why the decision was made. But I do think it is a good decision considering, like you said, it's quicker to remember. It's easier to remember in that way. It's just kind of like, the message comes across, although it is very poetic to see, we will be remembered in parentheses. And it's funny how she was mentioning, like, that's the first time I've ever used this specific way, which in the end it never came to be. But nowadays we're seeing a lot of parentheses in all of the songs because obviously we have Taylor's version from the vault, blah blah blah. So it's
10-minute version, Long Pond studio session, Autumn Girl, Million, Dead Witch, Burn at the Stake Witch.
Right, so we get a lot of parentheses nowadays.
Yes.
Yeah. Another interesting thing is how she said how we built this brick by brick. Could this be a specific reference to Castles Crumbling?
Maybe.
Because we know that during the Red era, Taylor kept saying in her
message in a bottle, like nobody's business.
Exactly. She kept saying in the introductions to her her songs, the song is like writing a message in a bottle. And little did we know, years and years later, we would finally get that whole song. So that could be an interesting little Easter egg. But other than that, Long Live, how are you feeling about this song? For me, it's the most emotional on Speak Now and one of the ones that I'm most looking forward to.
Oh yeah, me too. I'm really, really looking forward to Speak Now. To Long Live, sorry. I'm just looking forward to all of it, if I'm being honest. Like, there's not a single song that I'm not looking forward to. I think all of it is just so exciting.
And talking about the Eras tour, how you mentioned it's not actually on the Eras tour, I have a big feeling, and I think so does much of the fandom, that it's going to be the surprise song that this Friday. It has to be, right?
I think so. It would be a good, or potentially now that Speak Now is out, she might add an extra song onto this track list. The set list, sorry.
That would be incredible. Even if she was to move something around from somewhere else, if she had to.
Yeah,
I don't want to
take off.
I hate the idea
I don't want to be
of
horrid,
losing. Which one?
I feel like this is really bad, but like Folklore's got enough. Is that really bad?
You're giving a folklore song the axe.
I love folklore, but
which song from folklore are you giving the axe?
The one.
No, not the one. Not the one.
Or
I think
the last Great
honestly,
American Dynasty. No, but that's got all the dancers. So
exactly, if she's going to change one, it has to be one where she's just kind of like singing on her own. Because if not, we cut, a big part of the show going on. So she can add, and then obviously she'd have to add, if she was to add Long Live, it would have to be kind of like her on her own. I don't know, it might be a lot of logistics going on.
Yeah, it might be.
In a
To be
very
fair,
short time.
I wouldn't mind if she just stood, like with Enchanted, just stood
Right.
and
And
sang
just
it.
like went
Like,
on
I
to
think
it.
that would be fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about if she
Um,
replaced Enchanted with Long Live? How would
no,
you feel?
no, no,
No?
no,
Okay.
no, no,
I agree.
no.
I don't
Yeah.
want to lose
Big
Enchanted
fat
either.
no. Oh yeah.
Right.
But I would love it to be part of the set list. I think it would just be so cool. But I love folklore. Like, no one take that as
No,
I don't
no.
like folklore or the one, because
No,
I
no,
love
it
the
just
one and I love
yeah,
folklore.
that's it.
But I feel like I wouldn't be mad if we lost a folklore song or
Right.
maybe an Evermore song.
Yeah, I know that a lot of people might say that. I know that a lot. Let us
know
know in
that's
the comments what you guys think. If you have to get rid of a song,
take
so
one.
Long Live could be included, what would you do? What would you do?
You need to calm down. Anyways, next.
Oh, okay.
No.
Moving on.
The Archer again. Goodbye.
Right, yeah,
No.
okay. No, there's a lot of options,
No, I
and
love.
obviously people always have their favourites and their least
Yeah,
favourites.
exactly.
And I think the Eras Tour does a lot for a lot of songs that weren't my favourites. But
Oh
anyway,
yeah. To be fair, You Need to Calm Down actually is a bit of a moment, like when all the crowd are
is, to
going
be
and like the
honest.
lights.
Yeah,
So You
yeah.
Need to Calm Down is kind of cool. But for me,
The Archer?
The Archer, I
wouldn't
I wouldn't be
mind.
so sad. Yeah,
Right.
you know,
And it's
I
only,
wouldn't be crying
yeah,
about it if
and
it
it's
was
her on her
replaced by
own.
Long Live.
We've seen it, we got to see it, we got to experience it. It's lovely, lovely
Yeah.
production, lovely song. But would we
Get us
change it for
Long
Long
Live.
Live? Because Speak Now
Yeah.
deserves a bit more of its moment. And don't get us even
Oh
started
yeah.
on Taylor Swift debut
Oh,
album.
do not get me started on
Mm,
debut. Our song should be on that set list, even
it
if it's
should.
just. I understand if it's just our song, but that should be on
Right.
that set
But
list.
the unwarranted
How
hate.
was
But
it
anyway.
Eras tour when you have the photo from that album
Oh,
era and don't even have a song?
no.
But anyways, the tour is so unbelievably perfect. This is being so
True,
picky
true. It
because
is
it
true.
couldn't be more perfect if she tried. But if you
But
know
that's
if
what
you're
we're
talking
here
about
for.
dreams and yeah,
We're here
exactly,
for
we're here to
commentary
analyze
purposes.
and
Exactly. Yeah.
over analyze stuff and get way too excited about things that's just ridiculous. So the last track written for Speak Now was The Story of Us, and once Taylor had finished this song, she then decided that she was done with the album. So what's interesting about this song is the secret message, which is CMT Awards, which could not be more clear on what this song references and discusses. So Lisa, do you want to kind of delve into that?
Yeah, so again, she wasn't playing around with these songs and these secret messages, which I think from Speak Now, or rather from Red onwards, she kind of shifted a little bit to more cryptic messages. Obviously, 1989, very, very cryptic. It told more of a story than gave us any extra hints about what these
Who,
songs
where,
may
what
be.
it was about.
Exactly. But these ones she wasn't playing. Anyway, about The Story of Us, she was quoted as saying when she was explaining the song, "The Story of Us is a song that I wrote about an awkward situation where, well, let me just preface this by saying that I have happened to run into exes in strange places lately. This is about one of those situations where the strange place that I ran into him was at an award show. Obviously, as we know from the secret message, the CMT Awards. I was seated a couple of seats away from him, and there was so much that needed to be said, and neither one of us was willing to say it. We were both acting like we were engaged in conversations with people that we don't even know. It was just miserable. I was telling my mum about it later, and I said I felt like I was standing alone in a crowded room, and then I was like, gotta go, bye. And my mum is used to that at this point, so that's what this song is about. That's crazy how she was just on like a call with her mum and she was like, wait a second, that's a good idea,
Yeah,
actually.
I love the fact that she basically like a lyric pinged in her head. I wish I was creative. Like, I wish that I was that creative that I could just say something and be like, oh my gosh, and this
Yeah.
this whole song just kind of like flow out of me. It's just so incredible. Story of Us has always been one of my favorites. I just love Speak Now anyway, but I think Story of Us I just love the whole story of it. The fun, like, not cringe. I don't think it's cringe, but just like, I guess it is slightly cringe. The like next chapter, the end. I just think like it's
I think
not
it's
cringe,
great.
but it's
It's
so
just very
cool.
conceptual.
Yeah,
That's what Speak Now
yeah,
is. It's such a
exactly.
concept
Yeah,
album. Such a
exactly.
concept album. Like,
I love that. Like next chapter and then the end.
the
It's just
end.
so sassy and just so good at like making it really thematic. I just love the story of us. I love what it was written about. The fact that we can
Mm,
be quite honest with who she bumps into. She bumps into John Mayer. Like, there's literal
right.
photos.
Yes.
You know, and
We also
just
have
the
a lover
awkwardness of
diary
it.
entry about this night where she kind of went on about,
Yes.
you know, she shocked the world by straightening her hair for the first time, which is very ironic considering Taylor's looks nowadays. And then she
Yeah.
goes on to say it was the CMT Awards, and we get like the date that she kind of like closed off Speak Now, and closing it off with this song is so interesting as well. How
Mm.
I mean, technically on the album track list, we don't get it as the last song, but it's funny how, like you said, this song literally ends with the end. And it's quite
Mm.
poignant how this was the last one she kind of recorded, and it was just like the end.
Yeah.
And
Done.
yeah, as you said, we do have photos from that day of those two in that room, and it's just so crazy to think like that's what was going through her head, and little did we know what was about to come out of that situation. Such intricate
Yes.
stories, and it's kind of awkward in a way to kind of discuss them like and go through them, but at the same time, as Taylor has always said, she has always been very painstakingly autobiographical, especially in her earlier work, and
Mm.
the songs do not suffer from it. Like the other way
Oh
around,
no.
the songs are so well written because of it, because of how
Yeah.
autobiographical they are, and you can tell as a listener how much pain goes into that, and how much you give, or how
Mm.
much she has given to us as listeners of herself through these songs. But at the same time, it's a banger. Like at the same time,
Oh
you
yeah.
really get down to this song.
It's a bit of an all you had to do was stay, isn't it? Of like,
Right,
it's kind
yeah,
of sad, but it's an absolute bop. Like,
it really
it's
is.
such a good song. So yeah, I just love. I cannot be more excited for Friday. Like, I can't
Mm.
wait to hear these songs with Taylor's new vocals and hear vault tracks. And it hasn't really clicked. I don't think yet that we are getting it.
It's here,
Like, I don't
yeah.
know. Like, it just really hasn't clicked that it's literally this week. Like, that just makes me terrified and excited and terrified at the same time. So yeah, it's so exciting, and I think all of these songs, and like you said, what's interesting is hence why we've called this little series kind of Speak Now stories, and just delving into their little kind of stories and running through them quite briefly, was because every Speak Now song has such a vivid story, and is so clearly told what it is very specifically about, whether that's Taylor describing it or within the kind of secret messages. But it's been fun kind of re-delving back into these Speak Now songs and exploring all the
Definitely.
little stories behind them all right before we kind of go into Speak Now Taylor's version, and
Mm,
discussing Speak Now Taylor's version ahead of its release. We mentioned before, Red,
mm.
how we were going to go about kind of listening to the album.
Yes.
And before, I think you were very clear on Red that you were going in chronological order. You're kind
Yeah.
of starting from the top,
So,
finishing on the
yeah,
bottom.
just
Whereas I
putting
was
it in
very much
play.
like, yeah, I was like, I'm starting with All Too Well, and then I'll start from the top. How are you feeling this
Right.
time? You're going to start with mine,
Yeah,
and
I'm
work
gonna
your
go
way
in
through?
order. I'm just gonna press play at the beginning. Mine will be first, of course, and we're gonna move through down to Long Live, into those deluxe, and then into the vault tracks. I think that's how I'm gonna do it. But I
Mm,
know that this time around, people might be, obviously we don't have an all too well 10-minute version, but people might have
mm.
different opinions on where they want to start. So let us know in the comments how you guys are gonna do it, and you can let me know, Cameron. Are you gonna go to Better Than Revenge first? Are you gonna go straight to the
No,
vault tracks? How are you feeling?
I'm starting from the top. I think this time I'm
Oh,
going to do
okay.
what I did with Fearless. The only thing is, though, is I think what happened, and I did find this a bit with Red, was that by the
Mm.
time that I'd finished the deluxe album of Red, I
Mm.
almost felt a bit like fatigued of like, oh
Oh,
wow,
Red was
because
such a
you just
long
done like an
one.
hour and a half, and then you've got like another hour to go.
That's true. But Speak
So
Now honestly is, I mean, on the one hand, I'm saying it is a little bit shorter, but on the other hand, those
it
vault
is
track
long.
lengths are all
Yeah,
like over 4 minutes long, which, that is
yeah,
very Speak Now coded of her to do so.
yes,
Two of the
yes,
songs on Speak Now are quite long. So even though there's
yeah.
less, there is more of more song to get through.
Length. Yeah.
So,
So no,
yeah.
like I said, I think, but it should be fine. Like I said, it will be fine. But I think Red just felt like a mammoth of a task, like
Well,
30
then you get to
songs,
the end of it and
like
there's a
two
10-minute
hours.
song.
10-minute one, you're like,
And
oh
you're
my
like,
God.
what?
So yeah, no, but I'm really excited. But I'm gonna do it album wise, and then to be
Right.
honest, after first listen, I normally just then
Vault tracks.
rotate vault tracks,
Yeah.
and I rotate vault tracks probably for about 3-4 days before then I go back to the
Okay.
album. It takes me
Yeah.
quite a while because in my head I'm like, cool, I've listened. Unless something really stands out, Like with Girl at Home, for example, I kept revisiting that because it was like, what the hell? But other than that, I kind of stick to the vaults just because they're new and exciting. And also weirdly, upon first listen, the Taylor's version always feel like weird covers. I know this sounds really weird, but I think because you're so used to a very specific, like Speak Now we've had for what, 13 years?
Yeah.
So it's like you've had 13 years of hearing a song in a very specific way with very specific instrumentation and specific vocals and pronunciation, that when you then hear it, it's like, oh, that was slightly different. And oh, it's very, upon first listen, everything feels very different. But then now...
But then it just doesn't anymore.
Yeah, then it just really doesn't. Like, now when I listen to Red Taylor's version, that's the version, like the whole album, that's how I know it.
Ever getting back together.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, we'll forget about that. Anyway. And then Fearless Taylor's version, again, that's just how I hear it now. Like Love Story, You Belong to Me, I just hear those vocals now. And it's very clear when I'm in public and I'm like, that's not Taylor's version.
Right, yeah, I agree.
So yeah, it is interesting. But yeah, first listen's always been like, oh, that sounds different, and oh, that's different. But no, I am excited. That's how I'm thinking of cracking through it. Is
sounds good.
Chronologically, and obviously, as ever, as we've done with every kind of album that has been released while we've been doing this podcast, we will obviously be giving our initial thoughts, reactions to standard vault tracks, you name it. We'll be chatting about it, I'm sure, and I'm sure that our audio and all of our systems will mess up, as it has every single time we've ever done a Speak Now episode.
Anything Speak Now. Anything Speak Now.
It just doesn't seem to work, but we are really excited to kind of delve in. But yeah, I cannot wait. It's going to be a fun one. Thank you for listening. We've now come to the end of this episode. If you have enjoyed, then please subscribe over on YouTube, give this video a like on YouTube, and also like and rate us over on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And also make sure you follow us over on Instagram to keep up to date with when we're releasing new episodes. And if you want to follow us on Instagram, it is at Swiftly Spoken Podcast. But thanks again for listening. Enjoy Speak Now. We are excited. We will get back with all of our reactions and theories. But as of now, enjoy Friday, and we'll see you all soon.